Leonard, when I declare bankruptcy, will my spouse be affected?
Will your spouse be affected by filing for bankruptcy? Well, the general answer in a community property state like Arizona is yes. Bankruptcy requires you to disclose all your assets and liabilities. And in a bankruptcy, in a community property state, all your assets include everything you acquired during the marriage. Marriage in a community property state is kind of like creating a company, like a corporation. It has a life of its own under the law. And everything you acquire during the marriage, whether it's vehicles, other assets or houses, or debts, or credit cards or medical bills or any other kind of bills, all those things are community debts. And if you're ever sued by some creditor, they're going to sue you. For example, in Arizona, they're going to sue you by your name, and then they're going to mention your spouse, and they're going to say it and Jane Doe and the community. The reason they do that is because they're trying to get a judgment not only against you personally, but they're trying to get a judgment against the community. So when you file for bankruptcy, you need to list all of your debts, including the debts of your married spouse. Even if your name is not on a credit card or some other kind of bill or some kind of treatment that your spouse received, if they received it during the marriage, it's presumed to be a community debt, and therefore you're liable, and so are they. You need to disclose that to the bankruptcy court so they could wipe that debt out as well. There are, I believe, 10 community property states. Arizona is one of them. Texas, California, definitely community property states. So this question comes up quite often. Real property, houses, land, those things you literally have to sign for to buy and sell, because simply you can't buy land without having your spouse sign off on it. It's against the law in Arizona. But things like credit cards and other bills, your spouse could sign off on it and you might never know. It happens quite often. So you'd want to include that. Most folks file for bankruptcy together if they're married. It's more cost effective, and it actually more effectively gets rid of your bills. Some folks don't want their spouse included in their bankruptcy. That usually comes from a misunderstanding, because usually the spouse makes too much money. The bankruptcy court looks at your household income, and so your spouse's income, even if they're not filing for bankruptcy with you, their income is still included in figuring out what kind of bankruptcy you need to file. So you should also include their bills as well, so that you can get a complete fresh start. That's the answer to what's going to happen to your spouse in a bankruptcy.